Well, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Antron Watson. I'm with AARP Massachusetts. I'm the age-friendly director here in our state office. And thank you for joining us again for our Livable Wednesday series that highlights the variety of ways volunteers, organizations, and municipalities across Massachusetts are paying increased attention to the environmental, economic, and social factors that influence the health and well-being of people as they age. As you may already know, AARP has been working to promote the health and well-being of older Americans for more than 60 years through information, advocacy, and resources. Part of that includes helping to improve the places we live so we can all thrive regardless of our age, ability, or background. So we all want to live in places where there are transportation options, housing is affordable and works for our needs as we age. There's access to the outdoors, and there are ways to stay connected with loved ones and neighbors. Ultimately, our vision is for the future in which communities, urban, suburban, and rural, are great places for all, especially people 50 plus. So throughout the presentation today, please familiarize yourself with the chat and/or the Q&A feature. We'll be monitoring that for your questions and/or comments. We do enjoy comments, so please in chat let us know, any questions, concerns, or anything you really want us to talk about today. But with that, I'm pleased to talk about staying safe in your home. Our housing needs change as we age, but it's possible for our homes and communities to be livable for us throughout all of our life stages. And I'm honored to be joined by a longtime volunteer and occupational therapy practitioner, Andrea Cordes, who is really going to give us some quick tips on how to stay safe in our own home. So honestly, the first 2 minutes here, I've said more than enough, and I think we should go ahead and jump right in. So I'm going to go ahead and toss it to you, Andrea.
Sounds good. Thank you, Antron. I'm just going to share my screen. Just a couple of slides here for you all. As Antron said, I am Andrea Cordes. I am an occupational therapy practitioner. So if you've never had OT in your life, good for you. That's great. But if you have, that's also amazing. Occupational therapy fits really well with the topic of staying in your home as long as possible. That's one of the things that we love to do as OT practitioners. And we're going to talk about some different ways that you can actually stay in your home as long as possible and make it as livable as possible for the duration. So one of the things I like to talk about a little bit is the cost of not staying in your home. We all love our homes and we want to stay there as long as possible, but we all also know that there's a pretty decent cost that goes along with having to leave your home. Like if you need more care, whether it's a home health aide that comes and helps you get bathed and dressed once or twice a week, or somebody who cooks your meals for you, or maybe you have a loved one that goes to an adult daycare program, or maybe you've thought about living in an assisted living facility, or maybe you have a loved one in your life who has had to get to that nursing home level of care. We all know these cost a lot of money. And there are options out there. We're not going to go into all of them because this is a smaller version of the Home Fit presentation today, but just to be out there knowing that the cost of nursing home living and assisted living is pretty high in comparison to staying in your own home. So what we're going to talk about a little bit today are just some 5 ways to keep you in your house, some 5 kind of key points from the presentation. And the first one I want to talk about is universal design. And universal design is a concept. It's not necessarily a change that you make in your house. It's a concept about all design. So it's really making your home and your environment and every environment really able to accommodate all people, whether they have a physical limitation, a cognitive impairment, or even a sensory impairment. The addition of sensory impairment is relatively new to the definition of universal design, and the OT practitioner in me loves that. So universal design, literally anyone can get into and access all that they need in that environment. So what that means in a home is the house has to be able to be entered with a 0-step entry, which we're going to talk about. That's one of another one of the 5 points. So it has to have 0 steps to get in. And then in order to be universally designed, you have to have a bathroom, a full bathroom that is fully accessible. And we'll talk about that later too. And also you have to have a bedroom that is fully accessible in order to be considered a universal design for living. You have to have all of the living components on one floor. So there's no stairs involved. There's 2 other words I like to throw out there. Livability. Livability is when you yourself can get into your house no matter what your impairment is. So preferably a no-step entry. And then also you're able to get around that first floor living. So you have your bathroom, your bedroom, your kitchen, preferably laundry. That makes it a livable first floor surface, right? Visitable, that's another word we throw out there in home fit. Visitable means that somebody can come and visit your home. They don't need a bedroom on the first floor, and they don't probably need to take a shower at your house. So they just really need a half bath that's accessible and the 0-point entry to get into your home. That's what visitable means. So you'll see in this picture here, we have a little ramp that is a nice long grade. We'll talk about the grade of a ramp in a minute. And you can get right into the home. So that's a universally designed entryway. There's also steps for some folks who are interested in taking the stairs. And this picture here is a 0-step entry that literally has nothing external added to it. There's no ramp, there's no stairs. It's kind of graded up. The property is graded up to the door, typically done by a landscape architect. If you are able to attend a full home fit presentation, we talk a lot about the professionals that are out there that are able to do this work for you. And there's some things that we consider a DIY, like you can do it yourself. And there's a lot of things in the presentation that we talk about that are best left to a professional. So this is one of those things. You know, it's a safer entrance. There's no stairs involved. So somebody in a wheelchair can get into your home, somebody with a walker, somebody with a cane, somebody with just difficulty with mobility. Anyone can get into the home when there's a 0-step entrance. This also has the ideal double doors. So that opens nice and wide for anyone using a wheelchair or an assistive device like a walker or something like that, or maybe the assistance of a second person. So it's nice to have that option as well. If landscape architecture is not available for you just because of, you know, the expense or property or something like that, maybe a ramp. That's another way to create a 0-step entryway. On this slide, we're not going to go into crazy detail here, but there are a few different options. A permanent ramp, I like to say it's permanent, but nothing is ever permanent. You can always dismantle and, you know, reinstall some stairs. But a permanent ramp is something that's more of a fixture on the house. It's usually attached to the home. It's usually a little bit more decorative. It kind of matches the theme of the house, like this one on the picture here has a nice wooden railing that might go with the architecture of the home. Then there's temporary ramps. That might be good for someone who has had surgery and just needs to use a walker for 6 weeks or something like that and can't do the stairs. So a temporary ramp is a great option because they'll come out and that you can rent them. They'll attach it to your home and then they'll come back and take it away when you no longer need it. The threshold ramp is really for a smaller height. So the ratio, and this is something that everybody always likes to write down, the ratio is for every inch of rise, you need a foot of ramp. So if you're from the ground to the door is 4 inches of height, you need a 4-foot ramp. If it's 12 inches of height, you need a 12-foot ramp. So it's a really easy ratio to remember. Good thing is, you don't have to remember it because a contractor will know that already. And ramps are great for pretty much everybody. Anybody can use a ramp. You don't have to be a wheelchair user or a walker user. You can be a person with two fully functioning legs who just wants to use the ramp. That's totally fine. Makes it universally designed. A couple of other things with getting into your home. I don't have a slide up for you today about this, but in the full home kit presentation, you can see them. The most universally designed handle for a door is a lever style. So you can just push down, whether it's with your whole hand, your elbow, some people even use their knee, whatever you need to. You don't have to have the grip to hold a doorknob to turn it. So that is the most universally designed type of door handle. What the second concept I want to talk about for staying in your home for a while is the smart home. So this is actually the third concept, sorry, universal design, zero-step entry. This is the third concept, smart home concept. So some of you might already have a smart home, and some of you might not want anything to do with a smart home. And those both two schools of thought, both totally acceptable. I am going to talk about what some of the benefits of the smart home can be. And if you don't know what I mean by smart home, it's just really technology is kind of helping control some of the things within your home. And I have a little list here, which is kind of nice to go through. These are some of the things that a smart home can actually do for you. So it can turn on and off your TV without the use of a remote. You can use your voice to do that. It can, do video calls or online meetings kind of like this. They can play music, keep you entertained, listen to podcasts, read the paper, things like that. Controlling the lights and appliances, that's going to depend on your appliances and the type of lighting. You may need somebody to kind of configure your smart home virtual assistant to your appliances if they are compatible. So that's a little bit more work on the technical side. You can do some online research. I know my mother has a smart home virtual assistant, and she uses it all the time to find out what the weather is like outside. She will just ask her assistant, hey, what's the weather outside today? And it's a great gauge because then she knows, do I go outside and do yard work, or is it 90 degrees and humid for the 18th day in a row, right? Another thing my mother uses her virtual assistant for is the thermostat. So there are virtual thermostats out there that can you can pre-program, but you can also, with the use of your smartphone, you can go ahead and set the temperature for when you return home. Like say you've been on vacation and you kind of set the thermostat a little different for than when you would be home. You can then go ahead on your way home and either turn up the heat or turn up the air conditioning, whatever you need. And then your house will be a nice temperature for you to come home to. There are some door handles out there, some locks that you can open with either an app on your phone or a voice control or like a fingerprint door lock. There's all sorts of technology out there now for doors. You can use your virtual assistant to make shopping lists. My mother does that one too. And then it kind of saves it to your phone so that when you're out at the grocery store, you can refer back to it. You can place telephone calls. I know another thing, I talk about my mom a lot, sorry. She's a great example though. She has her virtual assistant. She has one main component in her main living space, and then she has two little, I think they're called dots or something like that, in other ends of her house, so that if she were ever to have a fall, all she has to do is call out to her virtual assistant and say, call 911, or usually it's call Andrea, and her virtual assistant will call me or, the ambulance or police if that's needed. And so it's great if she were to have a fall in one part of her house, she can still always communicate with someone. So it's kind of like the lifeline button that some people have only virtually. And it can also provide reminders. That's another great tool for if you need a reminder for taking a medication or a reminder to put the laundry in the dryer. I know I need that pretty often. So you can set a reminder through your virtual assistant. So again, not everybody wants to have a smart home, but if you were thinking about it, these are some things that your smart home could do for you. The next concept I want to talk about, or the room that I want to talk about, is my favorite room, the kitchen. Kitchens are where everybody tends to gather, right? You know, you always have a little like casual dinner party and everybody ends up hanging out in the kitchen. I don't know what it is, but I guess it's the smells of the food. So the kitchen is a great welcoming environment, but can also be an unsafe environment. There's water, there's fire, there's trips that can happen. So lots of different potential hazards within a kitchen. So we want to talk about making your kitchen as safe as possible. And there's different ways you can do that, whether it's through different appliances or just kind of rethinking the setup of your room, the layout of your room. That goes into much more detail in the full home fit presentation. But some highlights of the kitchen that I always like to share are these are considered the most universally designed handles and hardware. So on that drawer, you'll see what we call a D handle. So a D handle is kind of like a D, right? You can slip your hand right in there and use the strength of your bigger muscles of your arm to open the drawer or close the drawer. Same goes for cabinets, rather than having to have that small little movements of dexterity in your hand to grasp those little handles. Or I know I've seen a lot of cabinets that don't even have any handle and you have to kind of claw your way open, right? So a D-shaped handle is the most universally designed. On that faucet down there on the faucet handle is also the most universally designed, because again, it's a lever, so you can kind of push it with those bigger, stronger muscles of your arm versus, you know, turning a knob or something like that. There are also smart faucets out there, of course, right? Smart faucet where you've probably all seen them in the public bathrooms where you kind of wave your hand in front of it and the water turns on, right? Same with the soap dispenser. They have those now for your home, which is kind of great. If that's what you like. I love that idea for when my hands are really messy. Just wave your hand in front of the sink and it turns on and you can wash your hands without getting the handles all grubby, right? This picture here of the kitchen is a great way to just kind of show a really nice layout. Like everything kind of flows down in one, from the fridge all the way over to the dishwasher and everything in between. But just some things to think about with your kitchen here. Under cabinet lighting is my favorite thing to recommend. That is a very big DIY thing I recommend to everyone I see. You can get those little tap lights. They're just a little stick-on light. You peel off the back, you stick it underneath the cabinet, and you just tap it, and it's got some lighting for your kitchen counter. I know a lot of kitchens get installed and nobody has great lighting, and then you're working and trying to cut vegetables with a sharp knife and you have no light. So those tap lights are great. And the best thing is you can get them at like a dollar store. And then once they go out, you toss them and you get a new one. Another thing I like to point out about in this picture is where the microwave is. So I'm sure a lot of you at some point in your life, maybe even currently, have had a microwave above your stove, like where in this picture where the hood is where your microwave is. Not the safest thing, not the most accessible thing. I know counter space is a big hot commodity in most kitchens, but honestly, a countertop microwave is the safest and the most functional place to have that appliance. Let's see what else to talk about in the kitchen. Just keeping it organized, just keeping things accessible for you. If you live alone or it's just you and your partner and you only go through a couple dishes a week, keep them in a nice, easy, accessible place, maybe on a shelf on a counter. So you're not constantly reaching up in cabinets and having to reach back up to put them away and things like that. So keeping your life as organized and as accessible as possible. I want to go through the bathroom too, because again, the bathroom can be one of the biggest safety hazards in your house. Again, we've got a lot of water in a bathroom and a ton of ceramic and porcelain hard surfaces. So if you were to have a fall based on slipping on some water or something like that, or a towel that somebody forgot to pick up, if you fall, there's a lot of hard surfaces for you to hit yourself and get injured. So, you know, the toilet is hard, the tub is hard, the sink is hard, the floor is usually hard. So though it's just not the safest environment. So we want to keep it as safe as possible by maybe incorporating a few of these low-tech devices. So just a couple of things on this slide. We have the 3-in-1 commode chair. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with that. That is great if your bathroom is a far distance from your bedroom at night and you want to keep it in your bedside as a bedside commode. Or maybe your toilet is really low and you need a little height. So you can use a 3-in-1 commode over the toilet to increase the height of that toilet. That second picture in the top right corner, that little shower insert there, what happens is that you've seen the commercials, I'm sure, about, you know, we can renovate your bathroom in one day. What they do is they take your tub out and they just put in this like box-like thing, and it's a shower. It's all one piece of molded, usually plastic or something like that, some kind of composite, and it just fits right in. And instantly you have a nice shower stall that's a 0-step entry, or maybe a tiny little lip that you have to get over, versus lifting your legs up and into the tub every time. The nice thing about these also is most of them have a little bit of a seat. If they don't, you can always get an external seat that goes in. I do recommend with these that you go to the showroom and sit down on one and try it out, because they come in all sizes and shapes. A handheld shower is another great investment. Whether you have a stall shower or a tub shower, the handheld shower just gives you a little more control about your bathing, especially if you're going to be somebody who sits while they're in the shower, whether it's on a tub seat or what we have down here, the tub bench, where half of it's in the tub, half of it's outside of the tub. This is a great option if you don't want to renovate the whole bathroom, because you can actually sit on the outside edge of this tub and then swing your legs over into the tub and stay seated the whole time. So you don't have to lift your foot up and over that high tub, because some of them are high, right? And then this last picture here, this has a nice little riser underneath the toilet. So it gives you a little bit more height to make your toilet a little easier to get on and off of. This one also has a bidet attachment. So if hygiene is an issue for you, a bidet attachment, those are pretty inexpensive and they can attach to your existing toilet. So just a few different options to save you a little money, but keep your home a little more accessible. The last thing I want to talk about here is grab bars. Grab bars have such a bad rap. Nobody likes a grab bar. They think they are these hideous metal things that you see in a hospital bathroom, right? But they can be really beautiful. I can go to any home improvement store now and see grab bars out there that look like toilet paper holders or soap dishes or towel bars, but they're actually medical grade if installed properly. So that I would recommend a professional do. They can actually hold and support your full body weight if you were to need that help to get up from the toilet or to get up from a shower chair, or just even to steady yourself while you're getting dressed or something like that. So don't be afraid of grab bars. So those are the slides that I've chosen to share from the Home Fit presentation. Antron, do we have any questions?
No, not yet, but I
Okay.
do want to remind people, if you have questions, please do put them in the chat. But that's some really good information you share there, Andrea, especially the smart home feature. I didn't think about some of those ways to utilize the smart home, like
Mm,
setting it to call somebody, a caregiver or someone who can come out and help you if you do need that assistance from another room just by shouting out, right?
yeah, that was the
But
number one reason my mother ended up getting one. I said, hey, you live by yourself. You
yeah.
don't want to wear the necklace? Okay, I get it, but
Yeah, no, these are things to think about. That and
yeah.
also the visitability. I think looking at my home, I don't think it's as visitable as I thought.
Mm,
Especially right now I think about it. If I should hurt myself, can I even get in my own home safely?
right.
So these are things that I don't always think about. One question did come in. As far as is there an easy or ready checklist that people could use to kind of look at their own home the way you've kind of described these 5 areas here?
Yes, at aarp.org/homefit, which I don't know if you want to throw that in the chat for us, Antron, but that has a plethora of great little checklists, including a room by room checklist. So you can kind of go through what is the most important things to you, what you notice about your living room. Maybe you don't have any space to get around, or you notice that there's no grab bars in your bathroom, things like that. But there's also some checklists there about hiring professionals, which is great. I love those checklists because there's some questions on there that I would never think to ask a contractor before I hire them.
Good. That was another question that just came in. So the contractor list. That's awesome. That is
Mm,
awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Well, not seeing any other questions coming in yet. But what I'll do is I want to say thank you, Andrea, so
absolutely.
much for really diving into what it means to stay safe in our own homes and really, keep us in community, which is I think we've read the surveys. I think we all think about it ourselves. We want to stay in community and we want to stay in our own homes because that's where our connections are and where we want to be.
Mhm.
So with that, I want to thank you so much again for